I walked into the conference room expecting a strategy sync. Q3 pipeline review, maybe. A heads up on another pivot, some brand realignment garbage. I had my laptop under my arm, 3 strong coffees in my bloodstream, and a half-written proposal still bouncing around in my head. It was Tuesday, and Tuesdays used to mean business. But the room wasn't set up for business. It was Chloe, barefoot on the table, doing some TikTok dance to a song I'd never heard. A phone was propped up on a ring light. 2 junior marketers clapped along, one awkwardly holding a La Croix like it was champagne. She spotted me, grinned, spun once more for the camera, then dropped into a crouch and yelled, "And cut!" The marketers giggled and scattered. "Hey, Uncle Sales," she said, hopping off the table. "You're early." I wasn't. The invite said 9:30. It was 9:31. She sauntered over in an oversized hoodie that said Vibe Department, her phone still recording in one hand, a lip gloss in the other. "We're going in a more fun direction," she said. I stared. "Sorry?" She tilted her head. "Yeah, you're not really fitting the brand anymore." I blinked. "You mean the brand I helped build?" "Right, I know. It's not personal." "Sure it is." She offered a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "We're all about energy now, positivity, movement. You've got kind of a spreadsheet vibe." I laughed once. "Just air. You do realize I've closed 90% of our enterprise deals since before I could legally drink?" She interrupted, mock gasping. "Exactly. Time for fresh blood." Something in me froze. Not fear. Something older, colder, like the first crack in ice over a deep lake. I looked around the room. Everything was glass and steel and whiteboard walls. But it suddenly felt too bright, too artificial, like someone had swapped my world with a staged version of it. 15 years. From the first pitch deck on a bar napkin, to landing Fortune 500s out of our closet-sized first office. I remembered the founder, Greg, bringing me coffee at midnight before our first big pitch. I remembered celebrating our first $1 million contract in his garage. I remembered laying awake after the Series A, thinking I'd finally made it. And now his niece, who got her role 2 weeks after finishing an influencer marketing boot camp, was firing me between dance takes. I swallowed whatever I wanted to say. All of it. Instead, I asked, "So that's it?" Chloe shrugged. "We're restructuring. Think of it like we're breaking up, but I still want to be friends." I nodded slowly. "No severance package?" "Oh my God, you're hilarious." She was already back on her phone, thumb tapping. "HR will send something, eventually." I didn't speak. I just walked out. Back at my desk, far enough from the ping-pong table to get work done, close enough to hear the Friday DJ sets, I packed. Laptop first. Not the company one. Mine. The silver one with the sticker from our first conference booth. Then the hard drive. All my decks. Years of strategy, of customized pitches, of hard-won client notes. I moved slowly, deliberately, like I was in a museum exhibit of my own downfall. People saw me. A few gave polite nods. Some looked away. No one asked anything. 15 years, and I was walking out like a temp who broke the printer. I shook Brian's hand on the way out, one of the few still around from the early days. His eyes said he knew. His handshake said he couldn't help. The elevator ride was quiet. No music, just the mechanical whir of descent. In that silence, my memory filled the gaps. Greg and I cold calling from a WeWork, getting laughed out of our first pitch. The moment we got our first signed contract and high-fived so hard, I dropped my phone in a storm drain. How we used to say, "Don't sell the company, sell the outcome." How I made sure we never missed payroll, even when I went unpaid 3 months straight. how Chloe once asked me what CAC meant during a meeting with the board. And now, she was the face of the company, doing dances on a table I helped pay for. When the elevator hit the lobby, I clenched my fists so hard my nails bit skin. I didn't scream, didn't throw my hard drive, didn't make a scene. I walked out, head high, into the morning sun. Let them think they won. Let them think I was done. Because something deep inside me, something sharp, forged in years of rejection, deals lost by inches, contracts salvaged at 2 a.m., whispered something cold and clear. They forgot who built the foundation they're dancing on, and they're about to remember. The mornings were the worst. No alarms, no calendar pings, no urgent Slack messages asking for last-minute numbers. Just sunlight bleeding through the curtains and the sound of my wife making coffee in the kitchen. I lay there most days, listening to the hum of the espresso machine and the quiet click of her scrolling through the news. The stillness felt unfamiliar, accusatory. The first week I told myself it was a break, a reset. "You've earned this," she said gently, as if she were handing me a folded flag at a funeral. But by day 9, I was walking 5 miles before 7 a.m., trying to outrun my own skin. I'd pass the same closed cafe, the same dog walker with headphones, the same old guy feeding pigeons near the park bench. None of them knew I'd been fired by a 23-year-old in sneakers while she filmed a TikTok. None of them knew I'd been erased. I wasn't mourning the job. Not really. It was what the job meant. For 15 years, my name had weight. Talk to him. He'll get it done. Now I was just a guy with too many suits and no meetings. The phone didn't ring. The inbox stayed still. A few polite messages trickled in on LinkedIn. "Shocked to hear. You were a pillar. Wishing you the best in your next chapter. Let's grab coffee sometime." They were all the same, professionally mournful, casually detached. No one actually scheduled that coffee. One night, around midnight, I stood in the kitchen staring at a framed photo from a company retreat in Lake Tahoe. 10 of us in fleece jackets, drinks raised. That was year 3. I had pneumonia during that trip and still landed 2 contracts from a hot tub. I remember the founder, Greg, calling me the closer. Back then, that meant something. When he offered me equity, it wasn't just a token. It was a handshake, a promise. We were building something together. Or so I thought. I finally called him. He picked up on the 3rd ring, his voice brittle, like he'd aged a decade in the last month. "Hey," he said, not enthusiastically. "I figured you'd reach out." "Only took me 2 weeks," I said. He exhaled. "Look, Save it, Greg. Just tell me one thing. Did you know?" There was a long pause. Too long. "I wasn't in the room," he said. Not what I asked. He didn't answer. I let the silence do the talking. "She said it was about direction," I said finally. "Energy. Branding. You really believe that?" "It wasn't my call, man. The board." "You're the board." Another pause. It was out of my hands. I felt something hollow settle in my chest. "I built your hands." He didn't respond. I hung up. My wife found me on the balcony later that night, staring out into the dark. I don't remember what she said. Just her hand on my back, warm and steady. I wanted to believe her, that this wasn't the end, that I still mattered. But in that moment, I didn't know who I was without the pitch decks, the win rate stats, the title below my name on the company slide template. I didn't know how to exist without the urgency. I started writing things down, not as therapy. I don't believe in that kind of journaling, but for inventory, data, proof, a running list of every client I'd brought in, every deal I'd negotiated, every promise I kept when the company was hanging by a thread. Page after page, contracts, favors, unpaid intros, secrets. They weren't just names. They were hours of flights, months of follow-ups, years of trust, built one awkward lunch at a time. These weren't just accounts. They were relationships, and they weren't hers. Funny thing about Chloe, she never once sat through a full client meeting. She'd pop in for the vibes, as she put it. Snap a selfie, toss out a buzzword, then ghost the follow-up. Now she was the face of the company, and I was a ghost. But ghosts remember. I opened my laptop for the first time in days. Not the company machine, I'd returned that, but my own. The silver MacBook with a worn key where the E used to be. The screen blinked on. Empty inbox. Empty calendar. I stared at the blinking cursor in a blank email draft. The recipient field stayed empty for a while. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. This was clarity. A way to remind the world and myself that I hadn't disappeared, that I wasn't just a casualty of a more fun direction, that some of us had built the road they were dancing on. I started typing. Not fast, not with anger, just steady. A greeting, a name, a question. Would love to reconnect. Sent. And for the first time in 2 weeks, I felt something stir behind the grief. Not hope, not yet, but a spark. It started with a coffee in a quiet corner of Midtown. Gabe from Corvex reached out. No subject line, just, "You free Tuesday?" We met at the kind of place where executives wear hoodies, but still tip 30%. He didn't waste time. What the hell happened? I sipped my coffee. Black, no sugar. They wanted to go in a more fun direction, I said, quoting it like a curse. Gabe snorted. Is that why your replacement pitched us an NFT loyalty program? I said nothing, just raised an eyebrow. He leaned in. They've ghosted us for 3 weeks. We were about to sign the renewals, but now, I don't even know who's running point. You still need a solution, right? He nodded slowly. I didn't pitch. Not yet. Just listened. That became the pattern. A few days later, a quiet Zoom with Maya from Lyceum Health, then a back booth at a hotel bar with Kira from Vandro. No presentations, no proposals, just conversations. Everyone had the same complaint. Things were slipping. There was no leadership, no accountability, no consistency. They renamed sales to Vibe Ambassadors, Maya said, deadpan. I nearly choked on my drink. You're serious. She pulled up a screenshot. Subject line. Meeting the Vibe team. They sent us a playlist instead of a product roadmap, she added. More followed. Too many to be coincidence. A CFO called me after hours. Said his rep hadn't updated their dashboard in 6 weeks. It's like they forgot how to sell, he said. They hadn't forgotten. They'd never learned. I kept my voice steady, never insulted Chloe, never mocked the mess, just asked what they needed and let them talk. Word got around. The rumor mill lit up. Was I consulting? Launching something? Poaching? I didn't confirm or deny. That was the point. The whisper network grew, not loud, not public, just one quiet message at a time, one lunch, one forwarded deck. People I hadn't spoken to in years started reaching out. Hey, heard you might be working on something. I wasn't, not officially, but I was keeping notes, building a list. Every conversation revealed another crack. A vice president of partnerships resigned. A director of ops followed. Chloe kept posting dance videos with vague captions about cleansing out stale energy. One ex-client forwarded me an email thread with 6 different Vibe ambassadors contradicting each other on pricing. I read it twice, then closed my laptop and stared at the ceiling. They weren't just mismanaging the house I built. They were setting it on fire and calling it ambiance. So I started making calls of my own, discreetly, carefully. First to Nate, my old right hand. He was freelancing after leaving another startup, bitter and hungry. Then to Celeste, whose pitch decks used to make CEOs cry. Then Dom, who knew every CRM workaround in existence. One by one, they said yes. We didn't call it a company. Not yet. It was just an idea, a possibility, a skeleton crew of people who knew how to do the job, not just dress it up in neon buzzwords. We met late, worked in shared documents, threw out every bad habit we'd inherited. No fluff, no games, just the basics, done better. I didn't say it aloud, but I felt it every time I logged in. We were coming for them. One morning, I met a longtime client for breakfast, guy named Ellis from Torinex. We'd done 5 contracts together. I'd pulled his company back from the brink during the pandemic. Now he sat across from me over eggs and toast, shaking his head. "You made that company," he said. "They just rented your name." That one stuck with me, because it was true. It was my name that opened doors, my voice that closed deals. Chloe danced on tables, but I built the floor she was dancing on. The next day, I got an email. Subject: departure terms plus NDA. Urgent. It was from Chloe's assistant, someone I'd barely spoken to. Probably fresh out of college, stuck copy-pasting legal templates. The body of the message was polite, clinical. They wanted to formalize my exit, clarify restrictions, clean lines, clean conscience. I didn't open the attachment, didn't reply. They'd already tried to erase me. This was just the administrative aftershock, the nervous flutter of people who realized too late they'd pulled the wrong thread. I closed the email and stared out the window of the cafe I'd been working from all week. Outside, the city moved fast, efficient, unapologetic. There was something calming in that. The rhythm of it. No slogans, no vibes. Just movement. My phone buzzed again. Another client, another opening. I smiled. I wasn't coming back. I was moving forward. The email subject line read, "Urgent, possible client loss." It was from a board liaison I hadn't heard from in months. The body was short, polite but frantic under the surface. Their biggest enterprise client, Torinex, was threatening to walk. No bluff, no posturing. They wanted out. Unless, the email said, someone could step in and rebuild trust. Someone, meaning me. Funny how fast things change. I didn't respond right away. I took the afternoon to walk along the waterfront, let the breeze cool the part of me that wanted to scream, "I told you so." This wasn't revenge. This was leverage. I replied the next morning with 2 sentences. "I'll attend the meeting. As a guest. My terms." That was it. They agreed in under an hour. The boardroom hadn't changed. Same long table, same recycled air, same brushed steel accents meant to feel expensive. But the people inside were different now. Quieter, tighter around the eyes. Even Greg, the founder, looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. His smile didn't reach past his cheeks. Chloe wasn't there. Instead, her nameplate sat face down at the far end of the table. "Thank you for coming," someone said. Might have been the CFO. Might have been a ghost. I didn't care. I sat down, opened my notebook, and waited. Greg cleared his throat. "As you know, we're experiencing turbulence." That was one way to put it. "Torinex has paused all activity," another board member said, flipping through a printed deck I wasn't shown beforehand. They cited a breakdown in communication. Said we've failed to meet contractual milestones. Failed to meet them because the Vibe ambassadors thought email follow-ups were too corporate. because they replaced quarterly reviews with gifts. "And you want me to fix this?" I asked. Greg shifted in his seat. "We need to know if it's salvageable." "It is," I said, "if you do exactly what I tell you." Silence. I pulled out my plan. 10 slides, nothing flashy, just strategy, stacked like bricks. "Step 1, I began. "You remove all creative oversight from the enterprise pipeline. No rebrands, no song and dance, no more campaigns about feeling the moment. You go back to delivery, execution, reliability. That's what these clients bought." Someone scribbled a note. "Step 2, you reintroduce a real sales team, one that can explain contract terms, not just hashtag them." I clicked through another slide. "Step 3, you admit failure internally, not publicly, internally. Reset expectations. Otherwise, you'll keep losing credibility faster than you can spell engagement." A pause followed. I let it hang. Then, one of the legal guys, mid-50s, conservative tie, smelled like someone who spent his life in arbitration, cleared his throat. "Would you be willing to return temporarily, perhaps under a consulting structure?" I closed my notebook. "No." He blinked. "Excuse me? I don't consult for chaos I didn't create." "But—" "I'll make you an offer," I interrupted. "I'll acquire your entire enterprise portfolio, clients, contracts, historical data, for a price." You could feel the oxygen leave the room. One of the lawyers coughed. Another muttered something under his breath. I waited, calm. Greg stared at me across the table, unreadable, a statue of a man who used to believe in me until it became inconvenient. "You're serious?" someone asked. I nodded. "You've clearly decided to pivot into whatever this is now, which means you no longer know how to manage these accounts, but I do. So let me take them off your hands before you lose them completely." A woman near the end of the table whispered to a colleague. I caught the phrase, "brand liability." Good. Let them be nervous. "I'm not here for revenge," I said, folding my hands. "I'm offering you an exit ramp." Greg finally spoke. "What's your number?" I told him. It wasn't cheap, but it was fair. He didn't flinch. "We'll vote," he said. I stood. "I'll give you 24 hours. That afternoon, Chloe posted a TikTok. Soft lighting, ambient music, some kind of crystal-infused tea on the table. Caption: "Sometimes you have to release toxic energy to let the brand bloom." I didn't comment, didn't even watch it twice. By the next morning, the board had voted. Unanimous. The deal was done. They'd sell me the portfolio. Quietly, cleanly. No press release. Just signatures and wire transfers. I didn't gloat, didn't throw a party. I just went home, poured a drink, and sat in the quiet. Control. That's what I'd missed. Not the power to command a room, or the ego boost from closing. The control to decide what mattered, to draw the line between noise and necessity. They'd built an echo chamber. I built a company. Now I was taking the best parts with me. No vengeance, no fire, just precision, just business. The sign on the door is smaller than I imagined, but it glows. Emberline. We spent 3 hours arguing over the name. Celeste wanted something bold. Nate pitched acronyms. Dom made a spreadsheet. I just kept coming back to one word. Emberline. A tribute, quiet and precise. A reminder that even after the fire, something still burns. 6 months. That's all it took to build it back. Different, leaner, sharper. No dead weight, no vibes department. Just people who knew how to get things done. The office is barely 900 square feet. We share the floor with a vintage clothing shop and a meditation studio that always smells like eucalyptus and misplaced ambition. But we've got a whiteboard wall, 2 standing desks, 1 overworked espresso machine, and enough hunger to scare a Fortune 500 exec out of his blazer. I sit across from Layla and Marcus, 2 new reps who ask better questions in 1 week than Chloe did in a year. I mentor them the way I wish someone had mentored me. Directly, honestly, no fluff. Talk less, listen more, and never pitch a solution before you understand the real pain. They nod, scribble, practice. I watch them fail and learn and get better. And I laugh. Not the forced, teeth-clenched chuckle I used to have in meetings packed with hashtags and hollow jargon. Real laughter. Usually over lunch, sometimes late at night when we're all too tired to pretend we're anything but obsessed with getting it right. We're not building a brand. We're building outcomes. That's the difference. 4 of my former clients are already back. Quietly, of course. No LinkedIn announcements. Just signed contracts, warm handshakes, and the same message. Thank God you're back. They never wanted fun. They wanted follow-through, execution, consistency. I remember signing the first one, Ellis from Torinex. He came by the office with a 6-pack of terrible beer and said, "You look like a man who's finally driving his own car." He wasn't wrong. I work fewer hours now, but I sleep better. I don't wake up to 37 Slack pings or panicked calendar invites titled, "Quick Sync." I wake up, stretch, drink my coffee, walk to the office, and build something that feels like mine. Last week, Greg emailed me. Subject line, "Dinner sometime?" No body text, just that. No apology, no explanation. I left it on read, not out of spite. I just had nothing left to say. He made his choice. I made mine. I heard through the grapevine that Chloe's new startup, some platform for monetized intention mapping, whatever the hell that means, got bought out. Quiet sale, barely above cost, absorbed and rebranded by a larger firm with real infrastructure. She posted a TikTok about graceful transitions while sipping something pink on a rooftop. I didn't watch past the first 10 seconds. A month ago, I walked past my old building, on a whim, no agenda. The lobby still has the logo etched in the glass. Same font, same fake plants by the front desk. But it felt hollow, like a showroom version of itself. A new receptionist didn't recognize me. That was fine. I wasn't there to make a scene. I stood for a minute, took in the space, remembered the deals, the war rooms, the whiteboards covered in numbers that once meant everything. I thought about the 3 a.m. calls, the red-eye flights, the contracts signed on cocktail napkins and renegotiated in cabs. And then I walked out. Not bitter, just sure. That chapter was done. Whatever came next, I owned it. This morning I sat at my desk, the desk I assembled myself because Dom said hiring movers was anti-startup energy, and looked at the blank line on a contract. New client. Big one. Hard fought. They'd been strung along by Chloe's replacements for months before finally reaching out. We talked. I listened. I didn't sell. I just explained how we'd solve the problem. No pitch decks, no brand slogans, just results. I picked up my pen. The same one I used to sign my original employment contract 15 years ago, back when I still believed that loyalty meant longevity. Not anymore. Now, I believe in precision, in clarity, in lighting the right spark and tending it, carefully, until it becomes something real. I wrote my name on the line. The ink bled into the paper like a signature should. Then I looked up, smiled at the team through the glass door, and whispered, "Let's begin."